Miranda.
Hi, Bonnie. So nice
How
to
are
meet
you?
you.
Great to
I'm
see you.
great to see you too.
Well, I am speaking to you from Toronto. Hello, hello. Are you here now or where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, yeah. You got the nice weather. Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
My family is still in Toronto, so
Yeah.
I wish I could come up and see them. It's been a minute because of this
Listen, for sure. I'm sure it's been
insanity.
extremely hard, not just with COVID, but now the weather and everything that we've got going on here. So you will see them, I'm sure, very, very soon. But speaking of your parents, they must be extremely proud of you because this is such a great series. I know that it's doing quite well here in Canada, as you probably know, and in the U.S. And I have to ask you. I mean, before we talk about it, Miranda, I want to ask you, how did you know this was what you wanted to do for a living?
I actually went to an art school when I was 10 years old. I was good at visual arts, rather, and I had to audition for this school, which was the first art school in Canada, Claude Watson School for the
I
Arts.
know it well. Yes, I live around the corner from there. Yep.
And I was very inspired by actually all my friends were drama majors, and I was a very shy kid growing up, but I was inspired to tell stories through that. And so um, I, I mean, initially I started my career as an actor,
Right.
and I actually got my first agent when I was 16 years old and started acting from there.
Yeah.
But of course, after going to the art school, my parents were like, well, when are you going to get serious with your life? And so for a while, I thought I would become a psychiatrist.
Okay.
And because I wanted to help people. And I actually started counseling on a rape crisis line, the Toronto Rape Crisis Center.
Wow.
And I also did some volunteer work in a women's shelter. And you know, after talking to people and trying to encourage them and try to help them, find their strength and their path, I realized I really miss the arts a lot. And I realized, there's only so much you can do by talking to someone.
True.
And there's something about filmmaking and storytelling, and that it is more about showing somebody. And there are people who can be so closed off in their own lives, but they can sit in a dark movie theater and bawl their eyes out because the story has affected them.
For sure.
And so that's when I realized, I actually can do more and have, more to say if I have a larger audience. And so that's what inspired me to actually be a writer and be a storyteller and get into film and television, is to be able to, help people find their strength, help people understand if you're going through something, how do you navigate that journey?
Yeah.
And so that's really what inspired me to become a writer.
Well, boy, do you ever show it in The Cleaning Lady because, listen, there's probably no one who cannot relate on some level to Tony. I mean, here she is, an immigrant who wants to, not only make a better life for her family, obviously, but because she needs this life-saving, to save her child's life. And it's, what we won't do for our kids. And it's clearly shown in the show, even like from the first episode, man, it's so intense. And I wanted to know, I know it's based on a series from Argentina, correct? Is the original? How did that come on your radar? And then how did you realize, you wanted to make this for North American audiences?
Well, I had a blind script deal with Warner Brothers, which is a development deal. So I pitched them a few ideas, they pitched me a few ideas, and the Argentinian format, La Chica que Limpia, was one of them.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to do like a female Breaking Bad or a female empowerment story. And so this was a way to adapt the Argentinian format, but add to it by having her be an undocumented immigrant.
Right.
And show a story from the perspective of a completely unlikely hero, and all from the lens of like a Southeast Asian woman, which is something we've never seen on network television.
For sure.
So those are the elements that inspired me to adapt that particular story, and to really show a story about someone who, wasn't trying to get into crime, but she has all these challenges that she has to face and all these obstacles that are just surmounting. And I wanted to show a character who was able to basically figure out how to way to get past those obstacles, to, not allow herself to be pushed into the shadows, not allow herself to be silenced, and
Mhm.
really start creating her own path, making her own rules, setting her own boundaries. So those are all the themes that, that inspired me to create this show.
Yeah, she's a real tough cookie. She doesn't take any crap from anybody. You know what I love about her. But she does, as you say, she has to do this and to survive and make money and get her son the treatment. But at the end of the day, it is, as I said, it's so relatable because you have so many immigrants, that come to make better lives to North America or whatever, and from these countries where they are doctors and lawyers and et cetera, have these degrees, and then they get here and they're like, just to survive, they have to drive a taxi, they have to become cleaning people, whatever. So, how important was that for you to keep that balance in this show? Yes, it's a show, it's a thriller, we want it to be exciting, but we want it to be real too, correct?
Oh, absolutely. That's, again, one of the inspirations of creating the show was to create a story that is aspirational
Yeah.
in a way. And, it is very much a story of the American dream, but not in a typical way. It's not about her, what she can make of her life, but rather the sacrifices she has made for
Right.
her son.
Yeah.
And that is actually a real story for a lot of people, and a lot of parents in particular who have come here, who can't practice their professions, who can't, do the things that they, they'd studied and spent all their lives doing,
Mhm.
because they're making a sacrifice for their children.
Yeah.
And that is such a universal story, and it's such an important story to tell. And so that was one of the inspirations for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Let's talk about the cast. Boy, what a great cast. We'll start with Elodie, obviously, because she's so good. What was it about her that, did she audition, or how did, what did you see in her and you thought, wow, she really nails it?
She does nail it. I mean, Elodie is such a fantastic multidimensional actor.
Yeah.
She's so nuanced. Every look, she doesn't have to say a thing, and what she's feeling, what she's thinking. And Elodie brings so much of herself, of her strength, her intelligence, her resilience. And it's a very difficult role to play, because she has to at times be, under the radar, and kept in the shadows, and at the same time she still has to, you know be outspoken and strong, and be the smartest person in every room.
Yeah.
And so there's a real dichotomy to the character, that is a real challenge to play, and yet she just encompassed all the facets that we were looking for, all these amazing elements, and brought them, she brings them all to her character.
Yeah. And then Oliver Hudson.
Oliver
What can I
Hudson.
say? I mean, he's so great, but having him on the set too, it's a tough role because, he's playing this FBI guy, but he's also can be an extremely funny guy.
He's hilarious. He is hilarious. Honestly, like he, you know, he he tends to he knows his lines, he'll bang it out, but
Right.
then he'll like do a little improv line, or like throw a little zinger in, and it's hilarious, and it's intelligent and clever, and always makes us laugh. So
Yeah.
he is a consummate professional, but also just a really fantastic human being, who is so funny and charming, and brings so much to the character as well. And
Yeah.
what was interesting about him when we talked to him about the role is that he is such a family oriented person.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm a dad, that's number one, and I need to be able to see my family. If you guys don't get that, like, I mean, not exactly in those words,
Oh no,
but
but yeah, I get it. Yeah.
basically it's like
Yeah. Good for
family's
him.
number one. And it's like, that's perfect, because that's what we want to do with this character, is show that he's not just a typical FBI guy.
Yeah.
He also has a family of his own. And so, he is also going to go through a journey. And as much as, Elodie and Aiden, Tony and Armand, sort of hold a mirror up to each other and get each other to look at the choices they make. Tony is also going to get Garrett to look at some of the choices he makes as well, because the stuff he does isn't always kosher either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just wondering quickly, Miranda, what are some of the reactions that you're getting from people who are watching this show?
It's actually been so incredibly moving. So many people have reached out to tell me how they or their family has experienced similar stories, both from immigrants to also people who are struggling to take care of a child who has an immunodeficiency disorder. There's so many people who are just, so happy that we're able to put this story on screen. And it's actually shown that it has touched people on so many different levels. And that has been so overwhelming. And I have, so much gratitude for that in itself. Just if the story can touch, one person, then it's made a difference. And now it's just, it's affecting so many people. And that's what's so fantastic, is that this is actually reaching a really broad audience.
Huge.
And that both, Warner Brothers and Fox knew and recognized that there is an audience out there for this type of material, for different voices and different perspectives to put on screen. And they, the moment I pitched that this is like a Southeast Asian lead, they fully embrace that and have been behind that ever since.
That's amazing. That's great to hear. And lastly, the most important people who have reviewed the show, your parents, what do they say? Because they immigrated. Your dad went to France, correct? And then he came here. Then your family came here and everything. So relatable.
Extremely relatable. It's actually Elodie's father who is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was your
parents.
So your parents came here. They immigrated to Canada immediately, like from.
Yes, both my parents immigrated to Canada separately. Actually, they met in Toronto.
Oh, cool. Okay, great story. Okay, so but they must be extremely proud of you, I would think.
They are extremely proud. Absolutely, and I think what really impressed my mother is that it's being translated into Chinese, and she said, she sent me, there's a website and they've translated, all the episodes in Chinese, and it's all subtitled, and she was like, wow, like that somebody took the time to translate the story for people who who don't who can't fully grasp it in English, to translate it into multiple languages, because it is a story that impacts a lot of people, and a lot of different immigrants and a lot of different cultures. So, coming from Toronto, which is such a diverse, multicultural city, that was something that was really important to me as well, is that we have not only this Filipino Cambodian family at the core of the show, but also a lot of other diverse voices as well, and characters from many different countries. And that was really important for me to help dimensionalize and show that at the core, we're all the same. No matter where we come from or what struggles we face, we all have our hopes and dreams. We've all had our losses and our tragedies that have hit our families. And we're all just trying to do our best to survive and to do our best for our families, and to help our families. So that is a universal story, that I think is what is appealing to a wide audience. So I'm so thrilled that it's resonating with so many people.
Yeah, well, we're so proud of you here in Toronto. Keep up the great work, Miranda. Thank you so much for your time today. And, we look forward to bringing you back home to visit your family when it's nicer weather. And, just keep them coming. Congratulations on the success of this show. It's really, really good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Okay.